Very good afternoon, all of you. First of all, yes, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. Mr. Vivek Ingde. I am working as assistant professor at PDE's Shankara Ursula College of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research Center, Kharadi. And I am going to conduct today's day 2 session 2nd webinar on COVID-19 pandemic run through. Before we start, just we'll go through the medical disclaimer that the information herewith provided is only for informational purpose, and it is not meant for diagnosis, treatment or cure of disease or illness, and the information is not to be substituted or bypassed for any medical care which is being offered. So we'll continue with our topic. Is my voice audible? Yes. Now, what is coronavirus? We see since lockdown has started or this coronavirus pandemic has emerged in our country, we are consistently hearing only one thing: coronavirus, COVID-19, right? Now, at first, I'm going to cover up few things you all already know, that what is coronavirus and what all the things related to coronavirus, how to prevent spread of coronavirus and all that things. But very quickly I'm going to take it in brief, but some research material or research which has been going on coronavirus currently, or the papers which have been published, official papers which have been published by various doctors which are treating patients in hospitals around the world, the information related to pathophysiology and treatment of COVID-19 patients I'm going to share here with. So that's why I started with the medical disclaimer that this information should not be considered to be used for a treatment or cure or any medical practice. It is just for informational use. Now, first of all, coronavirus. We all know coronavirus is a group of viruses, and it is consists of core of genetic material surrounded by envelope and spike glycoproteins. So these spike glycoproteins are having crown-like structure, and corona is the name which is been given due to the crown-like structure of this coronavirus. So there are several types of coronavirus. In that, major two types of coronavirus, that is human coronavirus and second type is other human coronavirus. What is the difference between these two? See, first, human coronavirus, they are 4 viruses. Totally coronaviruses are of 7 types. From that, first human coronavirus are of 4 types. Human coronavirus means these viruses directly affect humans. So in lifetime, it has been concluded that in our lifetime at least once we get affected with this any one type of human coronavirus from these 4 viruses. And on the other hand, the other human coronaviruses, these are 3 viruses. First is SARS-CoV, MERS-CoV and SARS-CoV-2. So this SARS-CoV-2, first is a SARS-CoV, second is a MERS-CoV and third is a SARS-CoV-2, that is called as a COVID-19. Here is a kind of mistake. SARS-CoV-2 is emerged in 2019. Currently, first it was originated from China, and at very first the group of people were found with pneumonia-like symptoms, and after diagnosis of those patients, they were found with COVID-19 affected person. So basically the main difference between human coronavirus and other human coronavirus is that human coronavirus directly affect humans and other human coronaviruses affect animals, or they transmit towards the animal, means they are zoonotic and they get mutated. Their genetic material is little bit changed, mutated, and then that virus comes back to human and affect. When that virus comes back towards human after animal mutation, it produces very severe infection and it becomes very complicated to cover up those infections. Like we have seen, first SARS-CoV-2, it was emerged in 2002, then MERS-CoV was emerged in 2012, around after 10 years, and after 2012 in 2019 this SARS-CoV-2, that is COVID-19, emerged from China. First it was found in China in the animal market, and then it is spread throughout the world and it became pandemic. So first of all, whatever the number of people who were affected with this infection, the virus was transmitted from them to the community or other person and throughout the country, and from country to other countries it became a pandemic. Now here consider COVID-19 and influenza. So here we are going to see the R0. What is R0? It is a reproductive ratio. So what do you mean by reproductive ratio? It is the tendency of virus to affect number of people. Means what? See, first COVID-19 is having a reproductive index or reproductive ratio 2 to 3, means one person, if one person is infected with COVID-19, that person will affect other 3 people. Those all 3 people will again affect more 3 people, means first person to next person, whatever the transmission occurred, that will be at least around, it has been found that one person affect around 2 to 3 people. So this become very severe and the number of cases rises exponentially in COVID-19, and that is the major reason why this whole world is fighting against COVID, and there are number of difficulties to control this COVID, and there are number of problems occurred. So in case of influenza, what happens? The reproductive rate is 1.2 around. So one person will affect another, that another person may affect another, so it will go steep. So there will be no exponential growth of number of patients in that case, in case of influenza. But in case of COVID-19, the number of patient will exponentially increase. See, I will show you in graph, that is the growth of a pandemic. Here in fast growing, there are 2 trajectories through which the pandemic occurs, fast growing and slow growing. In fast growing, the number of patients increase exponentially, and in case of slow growing, the number of patients are slowly growing. So here, whatever the lockdown is going on, or all the countries are working on to control this exponential growth of patients. What happens when there is exponential growth? If there is a number of, here what happens, the number of patient will grow very fast and healthcare system is limited. So healthcare system will be unable to control or treat each and every person. So there will be kind of selective manner, and there will be decision to whom to treat and whom not to treat. So obviously at the end what will happen, the number of people die untreated. But here in case of slow pandemic, what will happen, the healthcare system will remain stable, and that's why because there is a number of patient is not that much higher. So here healthcare system will be stable and each and every person will get treated, and due to which this severity of the pandemic or control of virus can be achieved in very less time period. Next point is a transmission. So recently it has been found that the virus also transmit through feces. So if the person, the patient is found was found with the COVID-19 positive test and was been treated, after some days, after few days, whatever the test of COVID-19 is negative, still that person feces contains COVID-19 virus, active COVID-19 viruses. So it is major route through which there are chances in future of transmission of the COVID-19 if pandemic is severe. Now currently the major route of transmission of the virus is a respiratory droplet. So whenever a person sneeze or cough, whatever the respiratory droplets expelled, those droplets will affect another people, another person who is around him. So normally whenever a person sneeze or cough, it affects around 3 to 6 feet area around him. So if any other person is present in that radius around 1 meter, that is 3 to 6 feet area, that person may get affected if the person who has sneeze or cough is COVID-19 positive. Secondly, after sneezing or coughing, that virus will settle on surfaces. So it is the major problem or major drawback of this pandemic, that the virus settles on surfaces. So normally if you consider a cardboard or any other wooden surfaces or cardboard surfaces, it remains for around 24 hours. On plastic it remains around for 48 hours. So these numbers are being given by WHO. Now recent research have shown that it is also airborne. Means what? If a person have cough or sneeze who is COVID-19 positive and he left that region, but still that virus will remain for around 3 hours in that air. So if you are passing by through that region, you may inhale it. So it is also a major problem, and it has been recently found. Next, how to avoid transmission. So we all know there is no any kind of vaccine though, so the key is social distancing, using a mask, then washing hands with soap and water or use hand sanitizer, avoid touching eyes, nose and mouth. So that is a T region of our face, T region, to avoid touching this T region, and self isolation. These are the measures to be taken to avoid the transmission. Along with that, there are a number of questions in our mind that what about vegetables, what about, so the WHO have given number of guidelines regarding that. So you can wash vegetables normally, whatever we wash, because there has been no any case found to be affected with COVID-19 or transmitted through the vegetables. But very important thing to be considered is, before washing vegetables, wash your hands with soap and water, and after washing vegetables, wash your hands with soap and water. So it is very important. Next, use of mask. If you consider, so there is no need of N95 mask, because you are not consistently in the presence or in contact with the COVID-19 positive patients. So normal mask can work for this, but for medical staff there is need of N95 mask, because they are in close contact with the patients. Then PPE and goggles and gloves needed to be used by the medical staff. Next, we all know the symptoms: fever, dry cough, dyspnea, that is difficulty to breathe. When these symptoms normally occur at startup. So if you consider the incubation period of the COVID-19, it is around 4 to 14 days. These symptoms might show at any time, like from 4th day, 5th day, 6th day, or at 14th day also that symptoms may show. Even after 14th day, some patients have shown symptoms. What happens when the virus or the infection of COVID-19 progresses in our body? So we are going to see the pathophysiology in detail here. See what happens. There will be development of pneumonia and organ failure, and if there is a multisystem organ failure, there are chances of death in that patient. So how this all the things occurs, we are going to see in the next slide. That is the pathophysiology of COVID-19. See here, as we know, the virus enters through the respiratory droplets, means through the inhalation you have aspired a virus and it reaches to your lung, right? So in lung, what exactly happens when it reaches minor part? If you consider, see, if I consider this alveoli, it will enter inside the alveoli. So we'll see in detail about, or we'll zoom if you see the second diagram here. The structure of alveoli is there. So in alveoli, whenever virus enters, what exactly happens? This virus, if you consider this is a virus, it enters inside the alveoli. This alveoli is having two type of cells, we all know, type 1 pneumocytes and type 2 pneumocytes. So what is the function of both the pneumocytes? Type 1 pneumocyte is responsible for the exchange of gases, and type 2 pneumocyte is responsible for production of surfactants. So what is surfactant? There is a need of surfactant in alveoli to maintain the surface tension, and the structure of the alveoli is maintained through the maintenance of surface tension, and that's why whenever air goes in, inhale and exhale, at that time there will be exchange of gases will occur. Now if you consider this location, if this is a type 2 pneumocyte, type 1 pneumocyte is responsible for the exchange of gases. Along with that, there is a presence of type 2 pneumocyte. If you consider this type 2 pneumocyte, see here in the zoom, this is a type 2 pneumocyte. and virus will go and attach on a specific receptor on type 2 pneumocyte. The name of receptor is a ACE2 type of receptor, angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor. It attaches, and when it attaches, it releases single stranded mRNA inside the cell. Now, what is the role of single stranded mRNA? When that single stranded mRNA enters inside the cell, it captures the ribosome inside the cell. What happens after capturing the ribosome? The action here, the action of RNA polymerase will produce multiple number of mRNAs. So duplicate copies of the mRNA will be produced, and this mRNA will produce simultaneously number of proteins which are essential for the structure of the virus. So there is a protease enzyme which is responsible for the conversion of these proteins to the protein structures which are essential for a virus, and these RNA and protein structure come together and releases multiple number of virus copies. So here actually the copying of virus takes place. Now when these proteins are produced, when these proteins inside the cell are produced, these proteins are responsible, or these proteins will affect on the alveoli to release interleukin 1, interleukin 6 and TNF alpha. These mediators are responsible, or these are as a immune response by the cell. So whenever the interleukin 1, interleukin 6 and TNF alpha is released, it will affect on the blood vessels present around it. So what it will show specifically, there will be dilation of the muscles or smooth muscle, means there will be vasodilation. So first condition it will show is a vasodilation. After that, what will happen? Due to vasodilation, there will be increase in the capillary permeability. So whatever the capillary permeability is there, there will be sudden increase in the permeability of the capillaries. And what will happen? Due to increase in the permeability, the fluid will exclude to the alveoli or outer side of the capillaries. So obviously there will be alveolar edema, and this alveolar edema will restrict this carbon dioxide and oxygen transport. So it is very important factor, or very important procedure first of all take place after the start of viral multiplication. There will be alveolar edema, and due to alveolar edema there will be alveolar collapse. So these alveoli will collapse and it will be very difficult to breathe or to inhale and exhale in that person. So it depends on number of alveoli which have been affected. So basically second symptom, as we have seen, that symptom, that is there will be dyspnea, that is difficulty to breathe in that patient. Next, the lymphocytes will enter through the bloodstream till the alveoli. So obviously these neutrophils which are as a response of immune system will enter inside the alveoli, and these neutrophils are having tendency, or they are meant to kill the viruses. So obviously they release some protease enzyme, and that protease enzyme will affect on these type 1 pneumocytes also. So type 1 pneumocytes also are going to be dead. So here what will happen, the majority number of, due to entry of neutrophil, that is a immune response by our body itself, there will be death of number of type 1 pneumocytes present, and which are responsible for the exchange of gases, and they will be unavailable for the functioning. So here there will be alveolar damage, and this is very important factor which is responsible for the hypoxemia. So there will be decrease in the oxygen level in the blood, there is a hypoxic condition will occur, and it is severe condition. So our own immunity will be responsible for a number of deaths of alveoli, and that will lead to hypoxemia. Now next, due to the hypoxemia, there will be increase in the rate of breathing. Obviously it will go hard to breathe, so there will be dyspnea and difficulty to breathe. There will be accumulation of number of dead cells inside the alveoli along with neutrophils due to the action of protease, and that debris which is present inside the alveoli will be expelled out of the alveoli. So that material, that debris, the WBCs and all the cells present inside need to be expelled out, so there will be kind of productive cough. So see, we all have heard that there is a dry cough in COVID-19, but as the COVID-19 infection goes on increasing inside the body, there will be productive cough in that patient. Next factor, what will happen, those interleukin 1, interleukin 6 and tumor necrotic factor TNF alpha will go and act on the hypothalamus. So it will go and affect hypothalamus, and it will give signals to hypothalamus to give secondary message to reset the temperature or body temperature maintaining system. So there will be increase in the body temperature, so there will be fever in that case. So this is the another very important symptom in the COVID-19, that is there will be fever in that patient. Then as this infection progresses, as we have seen, see this interleukin 1, interleukin 6 and TNF alpha, these will be present in the bloodstream in very high levels. So these all the three things will run in the toward the cardiovascular system, means all the blood vessels, on the all the blood vessels, this interleukin 1, interleukin 6 and TNF alpha will affect, and due to effect of these mediators there will be vasodilation. So if you consider capillaries and blood vessels, there will be vasodilation. Obviously there will be increase in the capillary permeability, and due to which the fluid, that is extracellular and intracellular fluid, will rise, and due to increase in the extracellular and intracellular fluid there will be decrease in the volume of blood. So obviously due to decrease in the volume of blood, what will happen, there will be need to increase. So this obviously those interleukins 1, 6 and TNF alpha along with will stimulate the chemoreceptor present in the brain, and due to which there will be mediation of signals to increase the heart rate. to accompany the amount of circulation of blood inside the body. So, whenever there will be increase in the permeability of the capillaries at the circulatory system, due to which there will be decrease in the volume of blood, and due to decrease in the volume of blood there will be decrease in the blood pressure. So, there will be hypotensive condition, and due to hypotensive condition there will be decrease in the perfusion, and due to decreased perfusion there are chances of having multi-system organ failure. So, as I told you, at the time of symptom there will be kind of pneumonia. So, this pneumonia, why this pneumonia will occur? That is due to damage to number of cells, and due to overactive immunity, there will be suppression of some kind of immunity in our body, and the bacteria present in our body already will produce the infection along with COVID-19. So, there will be complicated condition. So, obviously there will be a multi-system organ failure due to decrease in the perfusion rate, and due to that, if you take one example, if you consider a kidney, there will be decrease in the blood supply to kidney, and due to decrease in the blood supply to kidney, what will happen? There will be decrease in the excretion of urea, or excretion of creatine will be decreased. So, obviously the amount of urea and amount of creatinine will increase in bloodstream, right. So, the test, or you can consider, whenever there is a progression of COVID-19, there are chances of increase in the blood urea level. You can go for the BUN test, or creatinine level will be increased in the blood. So, it is due to the decreased perfusion to the kidneys. Obviously, along with kidney there will be decreased perfusion to the pancreas also, there will be decrease in the insulin production. So, obviously the condition will go complicated, and such a patients need much more assistance, because due to multi-system organ failure, or due to decrease in the perfusion, there are chances of complete organ failure in that patients. So, those patients need special care and treatment during the COVID-19 infection. So, it is all about the pathophysiology, how COVID-19 affects our body, and how it develops all over the body, and how it affects lung. Now, if you consider, in case of COVID-19, it normally affects lower respiratory tract. So, obviously whenever there is a upper respiratory tract infection, there will be a cold or a runny nose kind of symptoms will be shown, pneumonia will be shown, but here in case of COVID-19 it affects normally a lower respiratory tract infection. Next we will go to the diagnosis. Now, if you consider diagnosis, we all know currently the PCR test is going on for the diagnosis of this COVID-19, but before that, see, influenza A and B test also need to be done, or normally are done. Why? Both the tests need to be negative. Means if influenza A and influenza B test is negative, then there are chances of having COVID-19, obviously. So, it is just to have a strategy for the treatment due to time consuming process of this PCR technique for the confirmation of COVID-19 test. So, for that, the sample which is used for the PCR test, or even in influenza A and B test, is a nasopharyngeal swab is taken. So, that mucous membrane and mucus is taken as a sample. Even sputum in some cases is used, but normally the nasopharyngeal mucus layer is taken and it is proceed for the PCR test, and if the test is positive, means there will be genetic testing of the viral component, and if the test is positive, then the treatment basis is applied to that patient. Even along with that, number of tests like CBC, if you consider at the basic level, if CBC is a normal blood count, if we go for the CBC, and if there is a lymphemia, means there is a decrease in the lymphocyte number, there are chances of having viral infection, means it will conclude that there are chances of having a viral infection in that patient. So CBC at very basic level will be performed. Burn test will give the urea and nitrogen level in the blood, creatinine level in the blood will be tested, so that if see obviously burn and creatinine test will give severe numbers in the patients who are severe, not at very primary level. Next diagnosis will be chest X-ray, CT scan and ultrasonography. So in case of chest X-ray, if you consider, if there is a glass opacity found, then there are chances of having COVID-19 positive. Glass opacity means that glass opacity will be shown at the lower respiratory tract majorly, not in case in the upper respiratory. If it is in the upper respiratory tract, there are chances of having pneumonia kind of condition. So if it is present in the lower respiratory tract, even though if it is not confirmed, doctor will go for the CT scan. So in CT scan also same, the glass opacity is considered and consolidation is found. So whatever we have seen in at the time of pathophysiology, the accumulation of the cells inside the alveoli, there will be consolidation of the alveoli, and that condition is tested by using CT scan. And even in USG, the pleural layer is tested and the diagnosis is made. So these tests are not confirmatory, but a PCR test will give confirmatory results for the COVID-19, and the progression of disease can be find out by using chest X-ray, CT scan and USG. Next, normally everyone or through the social media everybody know that the hydroxychloroquine, we have heard in the social media or on the news channel that Trump asks for the hydroxychloroquine to India and all that things. So hydroxychloroquine is found to be useful in the treatment of this COVID-19, but one should not administer it as a self medication. So even though I have heard from number of people that they were searching for hydroxychloroquine and they said they know the dosage and all that, this hydroxychloroquine is recommended by government to the nurses and doctors, healthcare professionals as a preventive measure, but the hydroxychloroquine is having number of adverse effects and number of interactions, or the medication should be avoided in number of cases. Like for example, if the person is having a diabetes mellitus, this hydroxychloroquine will reduce the blood sugar level. So it is not useful, it should not be administered in case of diabetes, or obviously as a self medication one should not administer it, even though it has a side effect like cardiac arrhythmia and number of side effects are there. Secondly, paracetamol, if you consider, if you administer paracetamol as a self medication for the testing of fever, it will give incorrect readings. So one of the symptom of COVID-19 will not be shown in case if you are having so normally number of people as a self medication take paracetamol for headache and all that, but as a self medication for COVID-19 it should not be used. Next is a antibiotic. Antibiotics are solely, we all know, we all are paramedical or medical stream. Antibiotics only are effective against microbial infections, so they kill bacteria only, not viruses. So they are completely useless in case of COVID-19 because COVID-19 is a virus. Next is ibuprofen and other anti-inflammatory drugs. So there is a huge debate going on the ibuprofen also. So some studies in this number of countries have shown that ibuprofen administration during COVID-19 worsen the condition of coronavirus infection. So one should not administer ibuprofen. The number of countries also have shown that administering ibuprofen has no such a effect on the worsening of the COVID-19, but better I have added it under self medication because someone if is affected with the COVID-19 and if he administer ibuprofen, we normally take number of brands of ibuprofen in our as a self medication, they are available at our home and we administer it for the headache. So it should not be administered because there are some instances recorded which produces the worsen the condition of COVID-19. Next, keep yourself mentally and physically fit. So in order to keep yourself mentally and physically fit, go for exercise, meditation, yoga and boost immunity. There are number of things which have been recommended by Ayush, Government of India, to boost your immunity. So they are readily available on the internet. Next, in this section of treatment, I am going to take a glimpse on how or what is exact strategy for the treatment of COVID-19 positive patient throughout. This data is been collected by using various resources, online publications. So they should not be, or they are not meant to be used for the treatment of COVID-19. We all, whatever the those people who are attending webinar, we all are related to medical field, majorly pharma field. So we all must know the pathophysiology and treatment basis currently going on. That's why I'm taking a glimpse on it. First thing is antiviral drugs. We have seen hydroxychloroquine sulfate and chloroquine phosphate is useful in this. So if you consider or we have seen the ACE2, angiotensin converting 2 enzyme 2 receptor to which the virus attaches and enters inside the type 2 pneumocytes. So this chloroquine acts at that location, hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine act at that location. So there will be restriction for the entry of virus inside the type 2 pneumocyte. Then remdesivir is also used by number of doctors or in the various countries, and currently remdesivir is in phase 3 clinical trials for SARS-CoV. So there are chances of positive or expecting positive results from remdesivir or some other molecule. So obviously the treatment for any kind of disease takes time. So currently whatever the virus, whatever the information we all know about the virus is not complete. Even though we have seen the pathophysiology, it is not, there are, the research is going on the pathophysiology is also and on the treatment basis. So at least for the treatment of any kind of disease, at least it takes around 10 years, 8 to 10 years to produce some new molecule for the treatment which that can the candidate which will give effective results. So for in such a condition, here we are not having time for the treatment basis. So in such a condition, two things are observed by medical practitioners. First thing is development of vaccine, and second thing is trial of number of medications which are already available. So the number of antiviral drugs, like see, alpha interferon is also administered in the patients, around 5 microunit are is administered daily, or even lopinavir and ritonavir in combination 200 mg as to 50 mg respectively is used twice for at least 10 days. These are number of things which are used for the treatment. So obviously while using these drugs, if you consider hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, while using these drugs there is need to focus on the adverse drug reactions and contraindications, very important. If the drug is contraindicated in some cases, that drug need not to be administered, but if need to be administered in the proper care, then antipyretic paracetamols are used. Obviously, as I told you in the before slide, the anti-inflammatory agents and ibuprofen are found to be worsen the condition of COVID-19. So normally used drug for the reduction in the pyresis is paracetamol. Then this we all know. Next is a convalescent plasma therapy. So if you consider convalescent plasma therapy, this therapy is not new for us. Since 18th century, this convalescent plasma therapy has been used for treatment of various bacterial, even viral infections. Recently, or not recently, you can say before 100 years, there was a Spanish flu, and for the treatment of Spanish flu, same like COVID-19, there was no any medication available. So first time the convalescent plasma therapy was used, and it was found to be very effective in the treatment of the Spanish flu. So in convalescent plasma therapy, what happens? The patient who has been recovered from COVID-19 is having antibodies in his body. So the blood is collected and plasma is separated, and from that plasma will be administered in the patient. So normally our CSIR and government of India has given permission for use of convalescent plasma therapy, but only in the patients who are at the critical level. So the research is going on all over the world for the use of convalescent plasma therapy. Then vaccine, we all continuously hearing about the vaccine. This new vaccine is launched and all that on the social media. So the vaccine work is going on all over the world. In Australia, some group of scientists are working on kind of vaccine. The exact details are not released by them, but the vaccine is under process. In our Pune, Serum Institute have claimed the clinical trials. Clinical trials are going on in phase 3 in the UK in coordination with the Oxford. So the vaccine will be available in a few months after a complete report of phase 3 clinical trials. So vaccine will be available, and yes, it will show a kind of effect. But again, the question rises that what if the virus mutate? So there will be need to develop vaccine every time when the virus mutate. Then the treatment of mild and ordinary patients. How the mild and ordinary patients are treated? Now normally the SpO2 level is tested. If the SpO2 level is decreased, then there is need of assistance of to increase the oxygen level. Obviously, to increase the oxygen level in the blood, the vitamin C play a very important role as a medication. So it do not cure COVID-19, but it is useful as a supportive. Along with that, heparin is given as anticonvulsant, anticoagulant. So heparin will be used. Low molecular weight heparin is used for the treatment as anticoagulant. Then electrolyte and water balance is maintained in the patient. So if the patient is having mild and the patient is ordinary, these kind of parameters are continuously assessed, and if there is any kind of severity, accordingly the treatment is altered. The patient who are having or the organ support treatment for severe and critically ill patients. So in that, first, protection and maintenance of circulatory system. So to maintain the circulatory system, there are number of medications, like if, for example, first, for to maintain the circulatory system, we have seen at the time of pathophysiology there is decrease in the blood volume, so rehydration is very important, or could be useful. So by the rehydration there will be increase in the volume of blood, and the blood pressure can be maintained, and circulatory function can be recovered, along with electrolytes can be administered. If there is a shock, if cardiac functioning is very much lower, or if there is a shock, the norepinephrine can be injected intracardiac and to maintain the circulatory function. Second, to reduced pulmonary interstitial inflammation. So to reduce this kind of inflammation, the large doses of protease inhibitors like ulnastatin is the drug is used. Then protection of renal function. To protect renal function, normally what happens, the anticoagulants are used. Normally when there is an increase in the capillary permeability, the renal function is disturbed. So to avoid that, the anticoagulant therapy is given. Nutritional support is very important. Around 25 to 35 kilocalorie per kg of body weight is required for the COVID-19 patients, so that nutritional support is maintained, the protein intake is maintained, the multivitamin is given in that patient. And next is a oxygen therapy and respiratory support. So normally the oxygen therapy or respiratory support is given by the nasal cannula when there is a decrease in the SpO2 amount less than around 90%, and or instead of cannula, mask is also used, mask inhalation of oxygen. And in some cases the mechanical respirator or mechanical respiration can be provided, ventilators can be used for the treatment to maintain the oxygen therapy in the respiratory system. Then special issues of management of COVID-19 patient in relate to these medication. First is a corticosteroid. So the special precaution need to be taken in case of use of corticosteroid. In severe cases, there is need to administer corticosteroid because corticosteroids give anti-inflammatory responses very intact. So they are normally used, but need to be administered and cautiously. Then immunomodulatory medications can be given, so that there will be activation of immunity. So subcutaneous injection of thymosin 2 to 3 times is injected, and it has shown some effects in some case studies. Then human immunoglobulin also can be used as a immunomodulator. Then next is a precise diagnosis and treatment of bacterial and fungal infections. So there is need to consistently take the samples of urine and sputum of that patient on the daily basis, and there is need to check out for any kind of bacterial or fungal infection. So if there is a fungal or bacterial co-infection, the specific antibiotic need to be administered, because the strategy should not be employed that broad spectrum antibiotic use, and it may worsen the condition because there are number of factors behind it. Then management of COVID-19 in children normally is done by the symptomatic treatment. So whatever the symptoms occur in the children, the treatment is given. Obviously in some cases In case of children, the ribavirin is been tried 15 mg per kg, and it has given a better results in that patient. And last very important factor, that is a discharge standards. When to discharge that patient, normal body temperature, when that person is having normal body temperature. Second, respiratory symptoms, if the person is not having any respiratory symptoms like dyspnea, or that is difficulty to breathe, or coughing and all that, sneezing, those kind of symptoms are not there. Next is pulmonary radiological examination. As I told you at the time of diagnosis, CXR, chest x-ray, the opacity can be find out, and if that infection is covered, can be considered. And last is the negative results of the nucleic acid test of for consecutive 2 times. So the whatever the COVID-19 test is going on, that test need to be taken for consecutive 2 times. When that test is negative for 2 times, then that patient can be discharged. So this was all about the COVID-19. I am very thankful to our parent society, Pune District Education Association, and my college, PDS Shankara Ursar College of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research Center. I am very much thankful to Dr. Ashok Bhosle sir, Principal, SU College of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research Center, to give me an opportunity. Mr. Sachin Kotwal sir, Principal, Shankara Ursar College of Pharmacy, Diploma Kharadi, and editor Mr. Amit Kasbe, Aster Edit, to give me this opportunity to present some thoughtful information in this webinar. As Mr. Amit Kasbe sir have shown you in the yesterday's session, that there are a number of webinars coming soon. So these are some webinars, along with many more webinars. Just the link you have used yesterday, the Aster Edit YouTube channel, keep following that channel. Due to some technical reason, today we have used another channel actually. So the channel will be active, and you can visit for more information at asteredit.com. Thank you.